Hey there, welcome to another episode of This Week at Skye. And again, join with me, I've got Ash.
Hey Phil, how's it going?
Great. And we're in the studio together, which is
You're
good.
back.
So, what happened last week, Ash? What happened with you?
I had a really exciting week full of paperwork, so not that exciting, but the end outcome is really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I am now a fully qualified advisor.
So this week, we've got party hats on to celebrate finishing your professional year. Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, very exciting. What was the best thing about the professional year and what was the hardest thing?
In terms of like motivation, hardest part is the just logging everything, getting all of that paperwork done. So you have to write down 1,500 hours of activities that you've been doing, and the perfectionist in me tried to make that as sort of accurate as possible. So that was a tough slog. Luckily, my background in accounting and experience with timesheets in the past made it a little bit easier, but it's still never that much fun.
Yeah.
And it was just really exciting getting that first client's advice through that I presented on my own. And I think the first client I presented signed that day and the policy was in force within like 2 weeks. So that was really cool.
You got spoiled.
My first client was a breeze.
Yeah. And what was the most challenging bit? Oh no, you said the logging the hours, because I mean it's one of these things that we've got to have it on file. So if we ever get audited and anyone comes to me and says, "Hey, did Ash really do 1,500 hours?" we can say, "Here you go. This is all the work that was done."
Yeah.
Which is painful, but congratulations. So we're going to be wearing these party hats for the rest of the day, which I'm excited about.
All day. Okay, let's go.
Do you have any client meetings today?
No.
Okay, that's disappointing.
No one's
All
going to
right.
see me, just the office.
Any team meetings?
Yeah, we got all the advisors jumping in on a meeting,
All
so
right,
let's
cool.
go.
Let's do it. That'd be good. All right, last week I went to Miami, as we've talked about a few times. So my key takeaways, there was a lot of sessions. It was like 4 days of full-on sessions that I, made sure. One of the things when I go to conferences, I make sure I'm in sessions or I make sure I'm like catching up with people. So this conference, because it was my first time at MDRT, I made sure I went to all the sessions available. And so the two biggest takeaways for me was a guy who wrote a book called Unreasonable Hospitality. So I don't know how to say his last name, so I'm going to call him Will G. He ran the #1 restaurant in the world.
Oh, wow.
And so, the way he did it was just making sure every touch point was either really thought out and building magical moments in his kind of restaurant. And so it made me really think about how do we do that at Skye? So
make each touch point special for the client.
Yeah. And we do boring stuff. At the end of the day, we help people get insurance in place, but how do we make the experience, much more pleasant than what, our peers are doing and what we currently do. Two of the things that he said that very few organizations know their touch points and every touch point matters. And so one of my takeaways from it is we're going to, as a leadership team, review every touch point, get literally a list of everything. And then what are the touch points that we do every single client? And then what are the touch points we do for some clients? If things go, askew, what are those touch points as well? And then just think about, is this good enough? Can we make it better? And so really try and systematize our whole business to really be super thoughtful. And we've done it in the past, but it's a good reminder to keep doing it. The other thing for me was AI and technology. There was a lot of talk on AI, and we don't use AI much in our business. We've kind of been a bit hesitant because there is data security concerns, which we take very seriously and the regulators care a lot about. But it's something that we've always tried to be on the front foot with technology, but I feel like, we're kind of missing a beat. I need to really focus on that area of the business. So that's kind of my two
Room for
takeaways.
growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of AI technologies out there, new AI technologies to help write SOAs. We use it a little bit in our advice meetings, but there's definitely more scope in the emails, phone calls, everything really.
And I think and both of those two things link together. So looking at every touch point and then with a lens of going, how can AI help, accelerate what we're doing, help make the client experience better, and so we can, have our human beings in our business be human beings. How do we make sure we make magical experiences for our clients and keep it human? So that's kind of Yeah, they're the things. I'm super motivated. Every time I leave the business and come back, I'm super motivated to to either change something, break something, or cause some havoc.
More havoc.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. All right. So talk to me about what's our first topic that we're going to touch on.
Yeah. So there's an article that Risk Info have written with Phil Anderson, who I believe is big dog at
he's policy
AAA.
something at the Advisor Association. Should just know his title. Keep telling us what it is, and I'll.
And so his calls are to increase the upfront commission that advisors receive. It's been 10 years apparently since the assistant treasurer at the time and made some changes to what the life insurance industry looks like. And so at that point in time, the proposal was, and now we have upfront commissions of 66%. It's being proposed that it should be increased to 80%, and everyone in the industry should be getting behind and rallying together to try and make this change happen.
Yeah. And Phil's title is General Manager, Policy Advocacy and Standards. So he's been around for a long time. I've got a lot of respect for Phil and what he does. And it's an interesting one, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. At the end of the day, it's an advisor association talking about how advisors can get paid a higher commission rate. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Surface level, it sounds very conflicted, remuneration sort of not so good. But in the article, it goes on to talk about how the advice wasn't that compliant, whereas if the advisors were being fairly remunerated, then the advice was compliant, I think like 95% of the time, as opposed to the 30% of the time it's cited. And so I think it's important to remember that whilst things might appear to be conflicted, it's still important to remember that people need to be fairly remunerated. And so by increasing the upfront commission, the advisors may have more capacity to provide better. Not that you should be, that should be dictating the advice, but...
Yeah, it's interesting because that report, that ASIC report back in, I'm going to say like 2013, 14, where ASIC did a report looking at advice documents, and they had a lens of best interest duty, which we've got. We're all obliged to adhere to best interest duty and the safe harbour steps. And the government since have now recently come out and said, actually, these in a report that Michelle Levy did, basically said the best interest duty is really difficult to determine if an advisor is meeting the best interest duty because these safe harbour steps really aren't fit for purpose. So, the ASIC report that said that a lot of advice documents were non-compliant were kind of based on this legislation that's very difficult to kind of meet all of these safe harbour steps. So it's interesting to kind of think about with every profession, it's like there's so many things interlinked. The one thing that they also lent on when they reduced commissions was the amount of policies that were lapsing, on a percentage of policies were lapsing. And so the theory being that if 15% of policies are lapsing and going to another insurance company, well, that's a sign that an advisor is doing that just to get paid a commission again. Now, the lapse rate has not dropped since the commission rate has dropped, and the premiums have skyrocketed since for the pool of policyholders. So it's, I guess, what Phil's kind of advocating for is, hey, maybe we should review this and just determine if this is fit for person, this life insurance framework, where the only change was reducing upfront commissions and increasing ongoing commissions, because it doesn't seem to have done its job. And Phil Anderson's always been very insurance advisor friendly, but the FAAA haven't historically done a lot with insurance advisors. We're kind of like the ugly cousins of the advice field.
Back of the corner.
And so it's good that the FAAA are coming out and saying, actually, it should be reviewed because very few advisors are giving insurance advice, and it's not good for the everyday Australian.
No.
And so, I'm excited to see what's going on because, historically they haven't actually said this stuff. Like behind closed doors, they've always said it. Insurers have always said it behind closed doors, but publicly and trying to get government support has been limited.
This has been very public, and there's a call to action to everyone in the advice industry to advocate for this. So it's not behind closed doors anymore. Yeah,
which is good. I'm excited. All right, what else have we got? So we are doing a restructure internally. So again, the purpose of these videos is for our clients to see, and also internally for our team members to watch these videos. So we are restructuring our business.
We are.
So what are we doing?
So it's been teased for about last month just to get people a little bit prepared for it. But formally it starts tomorrow. We're going into a pod structure. So we're going to have each of the advisors having their own pods. They're going to have their own CSOs that are just working on their deals, and they're going to have one person writing all of their deals, as opposed to before. It's a little bit everywhere, everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
But why are we doing this change, Phil?
So one of the things, the consistent feedback, we get a lot of positive feedback, but I only look at the non-positive feedback. That's all I ever care about.
You're a fiend for negative feedback.
Yeah, so I want to hear about it. The biggest concern people have is who owns like the relationship, and who can they go to for support, for clients, who can they go to for support, and internally. Sometimes it is a question mark of, who can support me to help this client, get their policy in place or answer some questions.
There's been many times I've had a question of, not sure who this one's meant to go to, so I'm just going to send it to everyone and the right person will eventually respond, which isn't that efficient.
No, it's very inefficient. So the reason why we did it is we had pooled resources. So, all the paraplanners would they'd be pooled resources. So Ash's, client would go to paraplanning, and then one person would be assigned. So the reason we're doing this is moving to pod structure. It does mean, as we don't hire as many people moving forward, so there's less new team members coming on board, it means these pod structures will help us really become really efficient in our overall business. And it means that we know what's going on and where the gaps are. It's easier to identify gaps in our processes or our people. And so, as an advisor, you know who your team is and who can help you with your team, and there won't be much movement across pods. Like we don't foresee anyone really moving for 2 years, and obviously people will leave the business and join the business, and that's stuff we've got to deal with. But that's kind of the main core reason why we're moving to pods, and I think most people are pretty excited.
I'm really excited for the added clarity it's going to provide. I think it will help me stay better on top of what's going on with the clients that are in the pipeline, and then working out if something's not going right, who I can chat to. Then we can have daily meetings as well. So the little controlling part of me is very happy about that.
Yeah, you control freak.
Yeah.
Cool. So it'll be exciting. From a client's point of view, I don't foresee they will see any real changes.
I think they'll get a better experience because they're not talking to a different person every week, which is how it sort of has been.
Yeah, I mean, that's the aim. They'll definitely get a better experience, but the overall end-to-end process will be very similar from a client's point of view. It's just internally will be much clearer, and everyone in the business will know who owns the piece of work and who doesn't. So excited about that. So next up, Ash, you got a client story. What clients have you been working on this week?
So the client I was working on this week, or last week rather, we presented the advice, we got the expected terms from the insurer previously, explained to them that it was likely to only have a back exclusion, and then the insurer, it went through to application. The insurer's come back to us and they've said they're declining the income protection and the TPD. Right. Due to a health condition that they'd already disclosed to us. The underwriter who looked at it, the pre-assessment stage was different to the person who looked at it at the application stage. And so they were coming up with different answers to the same condition. What we're able to do is go back to them, thanks to the relationships that we have with them, and explain that we were under the impression that initially this condition was going to be fine, wasn't going to affect their ability to take out income protection, TPD. The person who did the final underwriting went back to the person who did the first underwriting, checked what happened, checked if they're all comfortable with it, and in the end, they honoured the initial assessment, and so we're able to get them income protection and TPD, which is a really good result.
Great result. Man, that boils my blood hearing that stuff, and this is like, when we talk to clients and we say, hey, this is what we expect, but we're not going to know until we submit the application.
This is not the outcome we expect when we say, things could be different. Normally it's clients disclose different things, remember something, forget to tell us, do tell the insurer. That can be quite frustrating for us, but when it's the insurer changing their mind or appearing to change their mind.
Well, no different information and a different outcome is the thing that
quite frustrating.
Yeah, incredibly frustrating, and just creates more work for us and frustration for the client and
well, this created a lot more work. If they had just gone ahead and given the same assessment that we expected, that client would have been finished really quickly, whereas this took an extra 3 weeks of going back and forward. And
and the thing is, like, the clients sometimes don't know that we're having this argument, because we don't want to tell the clients, oh, it's actually declined, but we're going to argue. Sometimes it's a matter of going, hey, it's still an application where we've got some stuff going on, and we're going to discuss with the insurer, because at the end of the day, it shouldn't be declined based on the relationship and what they've pre-assessed with. And so, just 3 extra week of delay and frustration and extra work for us for effectively getting the insurer to honour the outcome that we expected. Wow.
It's good fun.
They're the ones that, when I get involved in those ones, I get really frustrated with insurance companies, and so I'm glad I didn't have to get involved. Off recording, I'll ask who the insurer was, and I'll give them feedback. Cool. So my week, I didn't do any client work. I was away. I try and switch off as much as possible so I can be fully engaged.
How bad was your inbox this week?
Not too bad. Yeah, actually. I'm very lucky that someone helps me manage my inbox.
Very nice.
But yeah, it was fine. So, Ash, we've got Baking Corner.
Baking Corner.
Now let's just pull back the curtain and just chat about our discussion. So, Potty put on a intro music to Ash's Baking Corner 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, yeah. And then we had a discussion that I looked at the intro and the shot, and I was like, this Baking Corner is like a little bit risky. Now, it's risky because we've got a woman baking for the male boss. And so it was always a question mark in my mind of, should we do this? Now, you bake and you like baking and you bring it in. So we thought, well, it's a good way to experience, what we as a team experience every week. But it was a little bit risque. And then, when was it? Last month, must have been 2 Mondays ago.
Yeah.
We sat around the computer with everyone in the team going, is this inappropriate or appropriate? And the outcome is that, hey, we enjoy doing Baking Corner.
Exactly.
I enjoy it. I think it's fun. So if anyone has an issue with us doing it,
we've had the debate.
Yeah,
join in.
Ashley.campbell@skye.com.au. Address all your complaints to Ash.
I'll take him.
Before we go to Baking Corner, tell me about your newest hobby.
My newest hobby, I'm picking up hobbies left, right and centre.
Yeah.
I went to a polymer clay making course and made some earrings. It was so much fun.
So do you paint it? Sorry?
So polymer clay comes in all sorts of different colours. It's like Play-Doh, basically. And then you mix it together, do whatever you want. I made some strawberries, made these, a couple of different things, and then you just get like a cookie cutter, stamp it out, and then turn it into earrings. It's so amazing because all you do
Do you bake it?
Yeah,
Okay.
goes in the oven, 130 degrees, doesn't need to be that hot, and takes like half an hour. So just as easy as biscuits.
And because I can see they're looped together.
Yeah.
And you pre-hole the clay?
So we had a little hand drill.
Oh, what?
Yeah, tiny little hand
tiny drill?
Tiny. Yeah.
And why don't you pre-hole it? Or I don't know how
Well,
to say it. But
the clay
it
doesn't
expands
change too much, but it can change a little bit. It's just cleaner to cut the hole afterwards.
There you go. So you made the double love hearts.
Yeah.
You made strawberries.
Made
what
strawberries,
else?
and then there were some little stars. I'll wear them over the coming weeks.
Yeah, cool. I like it. And so you picked out those clays with those colours, and then you made those shapes.
Yeah.
And
There
the
was
strawberry ones.
full discretion to do whatever you want.
The strawberry ones, are they red with like? Do they look like strawberries?
They look like strawberries.
Oh wow! All right, we'll hopefully see that next week. Next few weeks. All right, now we're back for Ash's Baking Corner. We're going.
Will it be this week or mine? Will it make us laugh or make us cry? Skye team's ready, forks in hand. Ash's baking.
Hi, we're going Neha. Thank you for joining us. Now, before we get started on Baking Corner, Ash just finished her professional year, so it's party time here. So you put your party hat on. Yeah.
Thank you. And we're handing the baton over.
Yeah.
Started mine.
Yeah, that's it. Wait, tomorrow should be? You start your...
I start mine tomorrow.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, Ash, you hand out the goodies. What do we got, Ash?
I need your help taking the bowl off. I've made a mistake. I don't know.
Oh wow.
So this week we have Rimbobullar, which are a Swedish baked good. It's a buttery bread with vanilla butter inside and then some icing sugar drizzled on top.
All right, Neha.
And Neha
you
gets
got to
to
give us
taste.
a rating. Okay.
Rimbobullar.
Yeah, Rimbobullar.
I like it. Was it meant to be warm though? I think I would prefer it warm.
Yeah, good. You got how many points is that off the score?
Maybe 1.
Okay.
So I'll give it a 7.
A 7?
Yeah, I like it.
It's a really generous score. I did taste one when it was fresh out of the oven. I was like, it's okay. But
I like it. It's pretty good. Not too sweet.
Yeah, what's it made out of? What's going on here?
there's some yeast, flour, milk, butter, sugar. What are you thinking?
I'm
can see you
thinking it's more
pointing.
like bready than I would have
It is.
expected.
It is. It's not pastry. It's
yeah,
bread.
I was expecting pastry. I'll give
Yeah.
you a 5.
Because you're expecting pastry and didn't get pastry.
I think so.
But
yeah,
that's
I mean, it's
on
very
you.
good.
You
No,
know,
it's
I
very good.
started by saying it is a bready baked good.
It's true. No, I'm giving you a 5 only because you get 2 high scores, and
Fair.
so
Got to
I'm
keep
just
the
being
ego in
harsh.
check.
I'm just being harsh. No, it's very good actually. It's definitely better than 5, but I want to be harsh. So, all right,
All right.
fantastic. Thank you,
Thanks
Neha.
for having me.
Oh,
Thanks for this, Ash.
Ashes thinking, take the stand.
all right, Ash, that was delightful. Do you actually have more upstairs?
Yeah.
Is there enough for me to have in a second one?
I think so. I think I brought 11. I think there's 9 of us in today.
They're
We'll
definitely
see.
better than a 5. I regret my score. They were very good. All right, now what have we got coming up this week? What do you got going on?
I have a little bit of admin stuff. So once a month we have a coffee catch up. So we started that in about November after we went to Bali. Everyone came back and they were like, "Oh my god, loved getting to chat to everyone." And so I was like, "Oh, let's just find a way to catch up every month with one person."
So what is it? How does it work? Coffee
Yeah.
roulette.
Once a month, I go into the list that I have, randomly generate pairings that gets emailed out to everyone. And so you get to chat with a team member that you might not chat with normally, or maybe it's someone you chat with a lot. So I got Kiara last month, who I chat with every week anyway. But it's still a great opportunity to get to chat outside of work, or however you want to do it, really. It's totally up to you. I send out the pairing, and then whatever happens from there, that's at your discretion. So
Yeah. No, I love it. I think it's really fun. I get paired up with someone and we just get to chat and sometimes, I don't speak to people for, a few months and it's a good way to catch up and just get to know people. I don't know about you. I don't talk about work. We make sure we don't talk about work. It's like, let's just talk about family, friends, like what are we doing? What are our interests? So it's a good way to
what
get to know
would you
each
get
other.
to know about the person if you weren't in the office, sort of, if you were in an office?
Yes.
Because most people are remote. You miss out on that more water cooler chat. I know we have our Monday catch-ups, but it's still a larger group, whereas one-on-one you can get to know someone a bit more.
Yeah, I love it. All right, what have I got? I've got we've got these coming back from Miami. I've got a whole bunch of things I needed to execute on, but then we've got these pods. So they're launching tomorrow. So I'm excited for our pods and what's going on with the business and super excited. So that's what I've got going on, making sure everything's all good, all settled.
Make sure your big ideas are executed well.
Yeah, which I said this morning, Taz, went through and communicated everything. And I said this morning that this is the most communication we've ever had with any changes. I often just make changes and I try and communicate it, but I get bored of my own voice when I feel like I communicated enough sometimes, but I clearly don't. So excited for the week ahead. Awesome,
Be
Ashleigh.
good.
Thanks for being here today. What does Trent always say, Potty? Thanks for being here.
That's what I'm to say. Thanks for being here.
Awesome. All right. Peace out.